November 4th, and 7 and 7:30 p.m. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll second with an amendment to the 7:30. Under public comment, it said none, but actually Rachel did thank the board for our time and work on the issue. So I don't have her. The 7:30 minutes.
Okay.
She thanked the board for our time and for working on the issue on
Okay. So is there a second to that? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Addition to the agenda, I have one which was signing the budget transfer that we approved last meeting. We just didn't sign the paperwork for the board of finance.
that was for the
Economic development.
CI.
Yes. Are there any other additions? Is there a second to adding that to the agenda? All in favor? Aye. Communications, are there any communications? Public comment? Yes,
Question.
Rachel. Yeah.
Well, as last week's when we received training,
Yes,
agenda item, have the same procedure.
yes. Okay, any other public comment? First on our agenda is winter parking ban during snow season. This is something that we post every year that restricts parking on town roads during the snow plowing season, whether it's snowing or not. And this includes after the storm, sometimes they have to plow the road edges back. And so the car has to be parked at least 6 feet back from the common portion. So I'll make a motion that we post our usual parking ban for the snow season.
What are the dates?
They are December 1st through March 30th. Although I'd like to think we're not seeing snow till December 1st, but
officially.
that's the official date. We'll see what Mother Nature has in mind.
I'll second that.
Sure. Any discussion? All in favor? Sign that. And Joyce posted it. Okay, next we have Popple Swamp Drainage. Karen Nelson is here, our land use administrator, to give us updates on two issues of Popple Swamp Drainage. One is the Nash Pond. I believe there's been some progress on engineering a remedy for there. And the second will be the drainage issues of Matador property, where we have a piece of report from town engineers, so maybe we can go work our way down the road, starting at Nash Pond.
I confirmed this afternoon that I'll be meeting on site. I'm invited to meet with Mr. Jan Hoppus, Dennis McMorrow, and a representative from the state of Connecticut,
Can you speak a little louder? I'm sorry. I got the heater right behind me.
I confirmed this afternoon that I will be meeting on site. I've been invited to meet on site Thursday at 11 o'clock with Dennis McMorrow. Mr. George Yankopoulos and a representative from the state EED Safety Division listening here. So that's a good word that we are subbing for.
Okay, so that's good progress on there. Next, board received a report from Dave Batista from Warren Engineering, who was instructed by me to do a rough site layout of a possible diversion for stormwater away from the 18-inch pipe that discharges on the Matador property at 31 Papa Swamp Road. He surveyed the elevations with the help of Highway Department member, done a concept plan and profile drawing, and also came up with some very rough cost estimates. The salient features of that section of road is it's very flat. In the roughly 300 feet of distance between that pipe and a possible discharge pipe, it's basically flat. So in order to dig the pipe in, we'd have to go down a distance to maintain the grade for drainage. Mr. Batiste also concerned about the fact that there's that during high water flow, if we discharge on the north side of the road, that the end of that pipe may be compromised by high water coming down the brook and may not have enough pressure to work. So in his plan, he shows the pipe taking a 90-degree turn and discharging the south side of the road. It would have to be, that point, the cut through the road would be 5 or 6 feet. It had to be rip-wrapped on each end. He also calls for a manhole drainage feature at the bend and another catch basin clean out halfway between. He estimates the cost of this project as designed, if it went out to bid, of somewhere between $44,000 and $69,000, which certainly was a lot more than I was thinking it was going to cost. But he feels this is based on quotes of what he sees in the construction trades of basically $100 a foot, plus that bend makes it more expensive.
Well, you got a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on.
You have 2 basins.
Right.
A cut through the road. A whole rip-rap area around that. And up here.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
pretty
major
expensive.
deal.
It is
I
a
mean,
major deal.
originally I thought we would just lay a pipe down the edge of the road with town forces, and Jim estimates the material of the pipe would be about $4,000 or $5,000. So this extra cost is basically labor on behalf of the contractor.
If I'm understanding it correctly, the reason he does not want to just cut a swale the whole way,
Yeah.
which in theory would be cheaper, I guess, is that by the time you got down to the discharge end, it would be 4 feet deep or 3 foot deep. It'd be a pretty deep ditch. I think it'd be a ditch that would would consume people or cars.
Right, that was his question in his email, is that if you did that, you could do that, but you'd have to do some guardrails there.
Government. And you might also leave, by the time you got your ditch and everything else and your setback of your guardrails off the thing, you may be off the town right away.
Right.
And you're also going to be taking down some major trees all the way along there.
So if you were originally considering this to be something that could be done in-house with the guys, why are you thinking that that can't happen now?
because just the size of the excavation, the flatness of the land means we've gotta go down. And once you go down, I believe beyond 3 feet, you've gotta have trench boxes and a bunch of other stuff to do the job. It's a major.
I think the depth of the hole will still be the same, it just gets filled in, because it'll be a pipe now, I think, isn't that the?
Well, it's not just burying a pipe. Normally when we set a pipe, like we had a similar condition on Great Hollow, we set a pipe a foot below ground all the way down the thing. Here, we're gonna have to cut in. What he said to me was, some places to be 5 feet. You have to put a trench 5 feet deep in order to even do it.
He said to you, does that say that in here? It says it has to be at a 0.5% pitch, that's flat. So the careful stakeout and construction will be necessary.
Well, a 0.5 pitch over 300 feet is about 1.5 feet. So if it starts at, 2.5 feet down, you'd be 4 feet down at some point, and it drops across the road. And it's already starting 1.5 foot and a half below the edge of the road. And I think it would be 4 feet down anyway, I think that's pretty common. Depends on what the size of the pipe's gotta be, and they haven't figured that part of it out, I think, or how much water they're talking about moving.
Well, I think he did put a pipe size in there. He said roughly 5 to 6 feet deep by the time you cross the road, underneath the road. He said he'd be glad to come out and talk drainage. He said we would definitely, of course, have to go to wetlands for this project. Any project, he said the wetlands commission would probably have us look at other alternatives to dealing with the water.
I think the reason the town couldn't do it, I think you need to do all this with an excavator. As
That's
opposed
also
to, as
assuming
opposed
you're not
to,
hitting any rocks or whatever else.
as opposed to doing it with a backhoe. I think this would be an excavator kind of project. Medium-sized excavator.
So do we have information and application prepared to go to MLS?
No, we don't at this point, but it seemed like that would be a useful next stop.
We meet in 2 weeks.
So, it seems like they'll have something to say, I'm sure, as far as the impacts on the wetlands. I think Karen has do you have a property map here?
No, I actually only have the small map, which was the application to begin with. But yes, I have numerous property maps scattered all over the place. But yes, I show this map, and I'll work with you to do the application, because we're gonna have to show it on the property across the road at this point, correct?
Say again?
The application for wetlands is going to have to show the town property across the road. I'm not sure my property maps are.
On the north side of the road, you're saying? On the.
Well, that's where the activities are going to be,
Right.
actually
Right.
on the town side, so we'll have to work off that map.
So across Papa Swamp, that's town owned land?
No, just the whatever,
You're
right?
saying
Right
just
away,
the
the
town
right
owned
away.
land?
Right.
Yeah, because you have right of way property on both sides of the road. In fact, you control that pipe on the Massey property. I think that the outlet is within the town right away as well.
Yeah.
So can I just ask, And the original map that was written, that we talked about 2 weeks ago, that has that note,
Mhm.
it was the town of Cornwall, the board of selectmen had agreed to divert that culvert. Where did that come from? How did that start? Why did we agree to that?
Well, my recollection is, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, when Rachel first looked at the property, there's obviously water running through the property. Do you have the map, the property here?
I don't have it with me.
Right.
I'll have to look at it.
I think it would be useful to get
It's-
the map. That there's substantial wetlands, and
Right,
I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, Rachel, but I would say 80%. I mean, how many acres is there? 5 acres?
yeah, I mean.
5 acres and probably 4 are wetlands. There's probably
Could be. Could be.
something like that.
There's a short, and this is what was attached.
Right, so where's that culvert come across the road now?
That's
Close
what's
to the driveway, huh?
this one.
That one there, okay. So the note says that,
On a big map.
that the town agreed to divert that into this, somehow down this Popple Swamp Road this way into that existing water course.
There was, I think Gordon explained this at the meeting last time, that we were all attempting to make a very difficult piece of property, which at one point was deemed unbuildable because of the wetlands, to get a septic system and housing. There's a fair amount of work done on Gordon's part and on my part to try to get information as to if the map that Rachel was preparing to get a house and a septic and the impact to the wetlands and the impact of the water through the pipe on the wetlands, and the record clearly shows, because it was my request to the design engineer. I asked the question if diversion of the pipe would cause the application to change, and it didn't, because these are wetland soils. And by moving the pipe, it does not make them non-wetland soils. It's a wetland.
Right.
So I think the original intention, and I'm not speaking for you or anyone else, the original intention was to make the building lot buildable, or more buildable.
No, that's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true.
So the original purpose was
That's not
to,
true.
Well, there has to be a reason to do it. If it wasn't, the two primary concerns are the septic and the house. If there's no reason to do it, then what's the reason of the town taking the action to do it?
Okay, if I
'Cause
needed that culvert diverted, I wouldn't have been able to make a site plan map. Brian Neff made that site plan map and put it on there, and we talked extensively, you and I and Brian Neff. And you told me many times that Brian Neff said, I didn't need the culvert diverted in order to build there. So it's not in order to build there. It's because it was a nuisance on that property. The previous owner of that property never built there for the same reason. And I would have never sunk my life's earning into this piece of property, or have never built a house there, if I hadn't first gotten the approval of the town in writing to divert that water course.
But I don't think you have to.
Stormwater course
so
going
backing
into
up, so backing up, saying that the original intent was to make the lot more buildable.
there. No, it wasn't.
Not- I didn't say not buildable, or to make it buildable, to make it more buildable, or make it more,
Residential.
To
More residential.
to avoid having torrential downstream of water going on there every time, every spring, really. It's stormwater, so that wetlands is nice, and as a wetland should be until it rains. Then when the stormwater flows on there, it erodes lots of things and it becomes a nuisance. And after that, that soil is already compacted because it's wetland soil, and that water sits there and pools up there. And it's something that if we were gonna keep it there, we would have to do upkeep and maintenance on this property until, 40, 50 years from now. So we know this, and we know about the wetlands, and I approached the town and said, we don't want this extra added water course coming into this property. When Gordon agreed, we had a lot of stipulations. You told me I had to first start building on that property in order to do it, then you said I had to move some telephone pole in order to do it. There were a lot of stipulations, but we got that in writing. Once we got it in writing, we said, okay, finally we'll build this house. And that was on our site plans intentionally. The intention wasn't in order to build, but it was in order for us to agree to take this piece of property that no one else wanted to use and use it to build our family home on it. We did not want town of Cornwall draining stormwater runoff onto that property. We got that approval. We spent a lot of money we're gonna spend in the next 40 years paying for that house. And being people who are good taxpayers and players in this town, we would like the town to actually do right on what they agreed to do, according to my plans. And while I'm speaking, Karen, I find it funny that you're coming to me and saying, I want you to, you know, abide by that site plan, and yet now you're telling me, and you're hired actually to enforce people to go by their site plan, and now you're saying, I don't want you to go by the site plan. That to me is a real, you know, borders on harassment. For me, that's a real, I don't know, it's a dichotomy that I can't figure out.
And so that's exactly my question and my confusion. You have your view of why it was originally done. She has her view
I
of
don't know, I
originally
wasn't
why
able
it
to
was done.
express it yet. I haven't-
I'm looking at that site plan that we were looking at that has that note that says the town has agreed to divert this water. Her wetlands permit says you are approved based on your site plan, which includes that note. So why we're spending so much time on this is, I'm just confused.
I would reiterate though that, again, that diverting the water is not going to change the nature of the wetland soils or the way.
No one's saying it is. No one's saying the soil's going to change.
Yeah, I'm not
It's going to be wet.
saying that
The
the soil is
diversion
going
of
to
the
change
water.
or that it's not going to be wet.
Can I back up? Let's back up for a second. Whatever the original reason, or original discussion, or original intent, saying, I don't believe we're ever gonna agree on that. So we probably shouldn't even start at the beginning. We're here now, I mean, this is where we are. And I think the town is showing, I think the town is showing intent to do, Spike Lee, to do the right thing. But this is what we're being shown. I mean, this is not a simple matter. This is a complex matter. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of engineering, and it's a lot of construction. So it can't just be, well, just go ahead and do it. We couldn't do that. We as the town can't do that. Nor could someone else just sort of dig a big ditch and move a bunch of water around because they choose to do it. And there's a process to do it. And I think we're attempting to go through that process.
Hallelujah. I'm so thrilled.
I know, but the process could take 6 months, it could take a year. The
It's
process,
taking a long time.
I know, but I'm not sure at the end of that where it'll end up. But this is the start, so I don't think we should be arguing. We should be attempting to work together to get it to happen. Now, this is a lot of money. You know, it is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for the town to spend.
Richard, don't you think that that should have been analyzed, that we should have gotten, the town should
Well,
have gotten inland wetland approval beforehand? We should have had Davis Batista talk about that beforehand. Now it's 5 years later. You
But
know?
also, it's beyond that too, because when I went to inland wetlands, they said, when I talked to Karen, I said, we're ready to start last spring, they said, well, hold on a minute,